Welcome to the Nehemiah Business Lifecycle Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Tsague. Well, this is Nehemiah Summit. We call Nehemiah Week. And as always, we do a recap each day to kind of give you guys a sense of what happened. It's so important this year because we don't have the social media feature anymore that we normally do in the morning when we kick it off, or we let you participate in worship as well as the devotional. So I'm here with Susan Schramm, who co-hosted with me today, our board chair, author of, wait, what's the book? Tell me
Fast
the
Track
title
Your
of it.
Big Idea, which is coming out in October.
Business Idea, released in October. And of course, CEO of Go to Market Impact. Well, Susan, first, thank you so much for co-hosting with me this year again. You missed last year, but it seems as though we just picked up where we left off.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. We started virtual Nehemiah Week during COVID, and it was amazing how instantly we got the benefit of the global audience, right? And today, it always brings it up. You start with this virtual tour, buckling your seatbelt and going from country to country to country to interview amazing entrepreneurs who have the ability to, in such a concise way, give you this insight into not only the businesses that they're building, but their commitment to making an impact in the world. It was very humbling again. I really enjoyed it. How many countries we visited? How many countries
Yeah,
did we
five.
visit?
Five. We
Five
started
countries.
in Malaysia, then went to Kenya, and then went to France, Paris, France, and then went to Mexico, and then landed here in the United States.
Very fun in a very efficient way. And we talked about the theme this time was mental health, which, as you know, I was not completely thrilled that we were going to be diving as entrepreneurs into the
Sure.
subject of mental health. I thought, aren't those two entirely different domains? But it was just the takeaway was incredible because the idea of mental health and wholeness and coming from a sense of peace and calm to drive a business was
Um,
a really important theme that we're going to, we really got a lot out of in terms of the conversations.
well, part of it is what you I want you to know is that when you challenge us to um, look as to why this theme, and you also sent us some write up about an approach to consider. As we took that into deliberation as a staff, we talked through it. It just helped us to be able to define it on our own terms
Hmm.
and craft a framework that's been guiding the process. The Bible says most to counsel their safety, and sometimes it's objections, it's counsel because it helps you alert. If agreement doesn't get you to think,
It's true.
right? Because it
Yeah.
facilitates
A
kind
little
of,
sparring can help. And the
yeah.
only thing that I think is interesting, I did some reflection on why was it that I hesitated. And I think, the whole world is increasingly more willing to be vulnerable and talk about health and mental health. But again, you go into, but who do I listen to? And what I've come to is that we all have, well, we're all living a world where we're struggling to be healthy in terms of our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health. We're all needing to focus on this, but um, it's important to listen to both the science side of it and the spiritual side and the practical side.
Yeah,
And I think sometimes the practical side, which is what we got today,
yeah.
was real world people living with challenges of driving successful and sometimes bumpy businesses, living with stress, burnout, enthusiasm, challenge, balancing work-life balance, and that's a real world issue. So
Yeah.
then you layer on that some of the insights that we'll have with this. What does the Bible, what does God lead us to think about, and what does the science encourage? I think it's the three-dimensional view. I think is really a healthy discussion we will have accomplished in 3 days.
Amen, amen. We always have to ask the question, what is the kingdom approach to that thing, whatever the thing is, right?
Mhm.
Because that's really our contribution.
Right.
Is, how do we help our people, our members, think about it from a kingdom perspective? With that, so we kicked off today with Pastor Manny. What was your key takeaway from his talk?
So Manny is based in Virginia, right?
Yeah, Richmond. Yep.
Right, in Richmond, and he challenged us. Interesting. The first thing he just challenged us was to figure out where we were going to fit this idea of having wonder in our life.
Yeah, I
I
thought that
didn't
was
expect that. I didn't expect that topic. Here
oh,
we are talking about mental health, but wonder is almost that denominator. And he reminded us that as children we had wonder, and we had this gift of seeing everything big and being curious. And then we got older and we put all this stuff as burden on top of us. And I think that idea was powerful. What did you think of that wonder as a challenge?
yeah. What it came to mind is possibilities.
Yes.
He took my mind to this place. As entrepreneurs and adults, we have responsibilities, right? Whether it's our staff, our families, financial obligation. And I think many times, and as children, you don't have all that. So you're able to just wonder freely and get in this place of possibilities. So that over time, that's gets limited because we become so responsible. And what he made me kind of realize is there's this place of what if, this place of possibilities that really it helps our mental health, because the alternative, which is burden, obligations, all the things that keeps us constrained and confined, unrelaxed, hurts our mental health.
Well, interestingly enough, I'm coming out with the de-risk system for impact as part of my business. And what if is one of the most important principles. And what I think we underestimate is that what if is a door opener in a way. Sometimes it can lead to what if fear. Sometimes it can be what if possibilities. But if you don't deal with it, it can create anxieties, right? The anxiety of the pressure sort of flattens you out. And so this idea you can be healthier by having this what if thinking. So I was feeling very validated as you talked about that. I also found he gave us homework. We had to have an act. What was the 3 actions we had to have?
Yeah. On the action with the mental,
A mental action
physical, and
and
spiritual.
spiritual. Do one thing. Do one thing that helps promote your health in terms of mental, physical, and spiritual. So, and then he hold us all accountable. So I did. I went for a walk in the rain today in 10 minutes when he said, so do something and make a commitment to yourself to grow in these 3 dimensions every day. So I thought it was a great way to start to sort of like lay the table for context for what we're really going into.
It was a good kickoff. I'm talking to Susan Schramm, board chair Nehemiah, CEO of Go-to-Market Impact, and we co-MCs together the Nehemiah Summit today. I want to encourage you, if you've not yet signed up for the summit, it's not too late. You can sign up for day 2 tomorrow, where it's going to be an all-day conference with various speakers. Just go to our website, go to nehemiahecommunity.com, and there's an events page right there. Just click that, and from there you can sign up and join us tomorrow. Susan, then we went to Asia. What was your key takeaway from Elizabeth's talk?
So Elizabeth Hone she works on helping people accomplish essentially a brand image that aligns with the identity of the person. And she's an amazing story. Her company is called EIB Academy, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm still stunned by her own personal story was one of overcoming as a foster child. And this idea that the big breakthrough was when it is definitely a God thing, when she realized that she was created in his image and she really was created to be someone loved. And yet everything she put so much energy into how she looked. So she's beautiful. She helps people with the basics of their visual image but she also works through and starts with clarity about your identity, which we do too. In Nehemiah, you don't start a business without understanding where your identity is in God. And I just think that was very powerful.
Yeah, it was a new look at how you look at beauty and image, right? Today we're so used to the social overnight social media, what do they call them? Successes. There's a term they use. Influencers.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's all about the external package.
Right.
And what she emphasizes is the internal packaging, and out of that, drawing out that, projecting out
Mhm.
that exterior, which has a lot more substance and a lot more. And what I thought also was interesting is her vulnerability
Mhm.
about her own journey and her admitting to that journey not only broke her but brought her where she was projecting that, and she had to rethink that altogether. So I think she's credible in making that case.
Mhm. The thing she then extends, I thought her curriculum, which starts with this clarity of identity, was interesting because she extended it not only how you came across genuinely and authentically, an understanding where God's got you in this world, but also this idea of, okay, I show up virtually like we are,
That's
and
right.
instantly there's judgment.
That's right.
Instantly, the other person is going to evaluate who this is how we children, you look at something, you look at two colors, you evaluate. It's like it's not a bad thing that that's how we all are, but just to be conscious of it. How do you come across in your communication? How do you come across in your visual? So I thought she seems to be committed, and her point about the fact that mental health there can't be a disconnect. You can't project yourself professionally and inside feel like you're not worthy.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
that was a very important part of mental health um, wholeness. So
That is so good. By the way, if you want to join us in Malaysia, Asia, where she's from, next year, our Kingdom Business Tour Conference will actually be in Asia. We're going to start in Malaysia. We're going to visit Elizabeth and other Kingdom entrepreneurs there. And then we'll tour this country a little bit. And then we're going to fly over to Singapore because they're right next up to each other. And we'll do the same thing there. So just reach out to our office or go to our website. Actually, no, it's not information there yet. Reach to our office and say, hey, I want to go to Asia 2025 and 2026.
26. Mhm.
And they'll make sure they get you how to join us there. That'll be really fun. And then from there went to Africa. So what do you think of Aurum Consulting?
Well, that I did not necessarily know about them. I didn't realize they'd been a long time with Nehemiah as both business entrepreneurship, biblical entrepreneurship course. They went through the program like I did, but then they became part of the community, the BSA community with Frank. And what I was impressed with was their commitment in this. Almost the theme was so similar. Their point was, we help you with the most important asset you have, your people.
That's right.
But from the very beginning, you've got to understand the why of your company and how those people align with your why. And so that echoes this idea of your identity with God and how it aligns with your image. Um, they definitely have built a differentiated process for working with companies, and then they interviewed the different companies who work with them. Happened to
Yeah.
be Nehemiah community people.
Yeah.
What was interesting was every one of them started with that clarity about what is their purpose. How does that impact their ability to attract the right people and retain them? And how mental health, as far as the people's ability to see themselves as part of something bigger and know that the priority is in that organization is that those people matter. That's part of creating an environment, a culture of mental health, which was powerful.
It's just so been fun to watch them grow and to watch them not just benefit from training, coaching, and community, but that I think about 80% of their clients are Nehemiah members.
Which means their values are aligned right from the
Yes.
beginning. They
Yes.
acknowledge as they start the conversation to serve each other, like God's in charge. God's our primary CEO. Let's figure this out. Yeah, that's really neat. And they
Yeah.
got to also, I'm sure if there's any conflict or anything, they get to go back to, okay, well, let's make sure whether it's a billing issue or
Yep.
contract issue,
Yep.
they start with
Yep.
the values. Very
And
important.
every entrepreneur that I've talked to, because that their clients are, they would say, I mean, I was in Kenya last week. They would say, oh my God, Patrice, they saved my business. Literally, the testimony is over the top as to their ability to come in, get your HR outsourced to them, and just manage that process. And it's just been fun to watch them grow. And now, when we went through AI with BSA, they not only took that on, they took an exercise that was in the coaching program and actually transformed that into a product that now they're launching out in their business. So it's just been fun to watch them. And then they're actually going to be in Asia next year. From what I understand.
So am I. So it'll all be
we're gonna have a good time. And then we went on from there to Paris, France. That was an interesting one. So what do you think of that take on how it ties into mental health? If there's a fit there for sure.
And what was her name? I'm forgetting her name.
Oh, you know what? Let me look up her name.
So it's a woman who started her business based on seeing a need. And the need was, I mean, she went through biblical entrepreneurship training. She was an employee of another firm, but she wanted to start her own business. And the need was that she saw her mom needing to be uplifted, but she was had some cognitive issues, cognitive impairment. And she wanted to uplift her, but she was going to sleep at night and was fearful. So she created a beautiful poster where the letters were all glowing. And she created this with her printer and it gave calm and perspective to her mom. And she realized this is something everyone needs, to have the light, and it's Shadow to Light is the name of her company. And basically she's bringing the ability to have these posters and visuals to help everybody not only have a nice phrase, but it glows in the dark. And it's there think about the dark. It's where evil is. It's where you get fearful. And I just thought that was an interesting contrast, the idea of recognizing that there's a bigger context. There's God's in everywhere, in all aspects of your life.
Entrepreneur story is amazing, how business ideas are conceived, where just your mother's need can spark into everybody else needs this, and it becomes a business, right? When you think of mental health, this idea of positivity, the idea of being able to read scripture, have that project to you. And so that whatever you're going through, that scripture speaks, it comes into your soul, and that being lit it up even sends also another message of light versus darkness.
Celine Bissol is her name.
Yes.
Celine, and her business is this Shadow to Light. Very impressive.
And then from there, by the way, I'm talking with Susan Schramm, and we're talking about we're recapping today's Nehemiah Summit with a tour. If you did not attend, I want to invite you, go to NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com, and then just go to the events page, click that, and then from there you'll find Nehemiah Summit, and go register. Join us tomorrow. You can still join us tomorrow, whether we have the conference, and then the following day where we have the International Business Plan Competition. The question is, who will win the competition this year? Will Kenya win for the 6th time in a row? And they have a great contender. St. Christopher will be competing on behalf of Kenya. I think they have a strong chance. Or will the United States, Celine Backer, will she take that? Or with Cameroon take that? A young lady with an amazing nonprofit. So who will win this year? Come celebrate with us as we identify who the 2025 international competition winner is going to be. So then from France, we went to Mexico. Yamil is a favorite. His sense of humility and sense of just not being ashamed of talking about he's gone through. But weren't you amazed of seeing how he's grown spiritually? I mean, Yamil, he's just amazing what's going on, that young man.
Yeah, well, and it is an interesting thing that we have a topic that, again, is a vulnerable topic, right? We're talking about your health, your mental health. Somehow it's okay to say I broke my foot. It's not okay to say I'm feeling broken inside.
That's right.
And I thought, Yamil's role is as the director of Nehemiah in Mexico, and he's been through ups and downs and is coming out the other side of this with such conviction about serving other businesses with this focus, not being scattered too far. He has a 2-year-old child, and as he said, we're raising him to know that it'll be the best of us, not the worst of the two of us. Right. The best of us. That was very sweet.
That
But
was a
we
good
interviewed
line.
Lucia Vazquez of Ranked Talent in Mexico, and
Yes.
she was excited about, again, helping people understand how to get, be employed, get better jobs, even if inside you might feel deficient. And she's
Mhm.
targeting some of the, what she calls the more vulnerable people with disabilities who might not, or people who came from less education, people
Mhm.
who might not be considered perfect on the outside, but helping them to, she took this To Serve with Love program that we have that helps people figure out how to start with their values. And again, a great message. She had to figure out to help other companies build a workforce. You have to start with understanding the why. And she had to start with her own why. What is it that she's trying to do in this world? Again, it goes back to alignment with God's purpose for you and your clarity and understanding of your identity, which she then helps people live out, and more effectively be certified to more effectively project that in their interviews and qualifying as an employee.
No, amen. You know what I love about what we do, Nehemiah, Susan, is when you see where some of the businesses that we serve, that we have the privilege to walk with, are addressing issues that as Americans we want to see that happen, because Mexico and jobs is very part of our national, our public policy, our national discussions, right? Immigration, and to see where she is, if she succeeds, that's less people coming across the border. I mean, that's literally that's how I
Well,
saw it.
I think it's less people feeling less needy people. I mean, it's job
Yeah,
creation. And
yeah,
it's funny because when we talk about impact, we often discuss what is the metric that we need to measure in terms of Nehemiah's impact. We equip people to create kingdom-based businesses, to understand how to live out God's word in our businesses. But it's not simply that we train them. It's not simply that they got certified in that business. It's that they're actually impacting others.
right.
And that impact that as they feel more confident and clear that the impact isn't going to be simply the metric of revenue, but did I help impact a life? And so that was what, I mean, every one of them felt at the end of the day that they were doing something bigger than themselves and bigger than their business measure. It was the eternal impact in these people's lives.
Wow,
And,
amen.
and the fact that we talk about the idea of mental health, I think we would have in the past said, oh, measure a job. A job does create financial security is a scary thing that it creates
100%.
anxiety, or lack
That's
of financial security creates anxiety. So we clearly contribute by helping people learn how to earn. But this idea of having a rhythm of tapping a bigger picture and acknowledging the need when your mental health isn't good and being vulnerable about that's part of helping people build a business. Haven't you guys at Nehemiah created a new assessment for new businesses?
We
That
did. We did.
Tell
We
me
did.
about that.
We'll be sharing it tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
yeah, the idea of how do we assess our mental and spiritual well-being, and part of that assessment is the financial, because the financial gap tends to affect our mental health. So I just came back from Africa, as you know. We in Malawi, which is a very poor country, we launched the Young Biblical Country Experience. So
The
interesting
young
story.
biblical entrepreneur
Entrepreneur. Yeah,
experience.
yeah. So we did a YBE experience, and then we introduced it for to go into schools. YBE for young
So
people.
that means we're equipping people in the school to learn
Correct.
about business, how it
Correct.
works, how to build one, how to sustain one.
Yeah. So what was interesting? So we did this game called the trade game that we do. So in that game, one gal, so they have all these bags and they get to trade, to learn how trade impacts happiness, right? The objective of the game is to illustrate what economics believe, which is, can trade increase happiness? And so we set that as a proposition, and we say, okay, we're going to see if it works. And then we do the game. And at the end, always they see where people start unhappy and they get happier as they trade. It's a fun game. But the point I want to make is this, as you talk about our impact. So one of the gal, she got money. It's like a 5,000 of their currency. It was in her bag, and she wouldn't trade with anybody. And at the end, when asked, why wouldn't you trade that? She said, this is my bus money for tomorrow.
Oh, you gave them real money.
Yeah, one of them did. They have
Uh-huh.
different things. She said, this is my bus money for tomorrow, you know, to come to this training back home.
Mhm.
Another person had soap. This one was a kid. She had soap. And Frank thought that soap was the worst gift. And so he actually wanted to give her another gift at the end of the game to say, hey, we know you have soap, but we want to give you something better as just to honor you because you were stuck with soap. And then as he was trying to do that, our host came to Frank, the principal, superintendent came to Frank and said, oh, no, no, no. In this culture, soap is a valuable asset. These kids some of them don't have soap,
Oh my gosh.
right? I mean, think about that. And then he's like, but it's brand, it's not even a brand, it's just regular soap without scents. He said, exactly. Remember, you're dealing with kids from villages, from environments where soap is. So the power, sometimes things just that we take for granted. Soap. And by the way, he's from Kenya. So this is one African to another African. So what we do, its impact is hard to describe because something just as simple as a trade game
For a
gave a
child to
young
learn the impact of
trade
value. Yeah.
soap that she like, I can now shower this week
Mm.
with soap. My best fair money. But anyway, so we then concluded with I thought this was one of my favorite. I'm not sure why, maybe because we're part of couples in business together and I've watched them evolve, is DC drip with Marlon. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, I had to understand what it was. So Marlon started this business to essentially, it started during COVID, and I did see some businesses like it, where you basically get an IV to help bring you back and rejuvenate you. And during COVID, became popular. But they look at it in terms of you come in and say, what is the whole person? What is it you're trying to accomplish? Is it you're stressed, or are you dragged out? Are you pregnant? What are the things healthy wise that you're trying to accomplish? And they even are going to be staffing with a mental health coach, because sometimes that physical aspect of your being, you know, down or behind is really driven by a mental aspect of your being feeling deficient. And was a high energy guy with a big vision. And but to understand these different ideas, whether all of them have to do with this alignment between who you are and what your issues are: physical, spiritual, mental. And then how do you feel a sense of health, of well-being at the end of it? I thought it was an interesting business. He's an interesting person, but I thought the business model was fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We've watched Marlon. We in the coaching and in couples and business just evolve that idea, raise money, just go at it, and it's just I'm so proud of him because they've had such hard time. They could have quit. I mean, you talking about they got sued by a company that want to just bring them down, take them
It
out,
just
bankrupt them. They've been so resilient. So it was a great way to finish. A young man who's him and his wife the last 3 years have been hell for them,
Mhm.
but they've been resilient, and out of that, this business was born. And who knows what's going to be down the line. And I love his honest answer when we asked them, "How do you do it? How do you balance it all?" He said, "What he
Juggling.
said, juggling." Yeah, he just gave a real honest entrepreneur answer.
Right.
He,
Well, and
as he
when he
said,
was talking like that, I thought, okay, every one of us identify. He's got kids. How to get him to the right places because he's got multiple kids. He and his wife each have separate businesses, entrepreneurs. And I mean, I think there's chapters and seasons
that's
where
right.
you're in that moment and you just don't know how you're going to do it. And then you add to it the challenge of, setbacks, whether
Yep.
it's financial
Yep.
setbacks or
Yep.
career setbacks or whatever. Um, Again, it goes back to, so in all this wellness and wholeness that we're talking about, I think the entrepreneur is vulnerable. And I love the idea that when Nehemiah approaches how to help people build businesses, we don't just approach it from the point of view of, here's Here's how to put capital together. Here's how to do your product stuff. We start with this idea of what are you called to do? And at the end of the day, we look at you through the life cycle of a business. We don't just say, just start something, right? We actually say, think ahead of where you will want to leave it, not just in terms of, when you die, but what are you leaving beyond what you're leaving? I'll never forget when I took biblical entrepreneurship. I came home and said, I've heard about exit plans, but that's ridiculous. I mean, it's the exit plan, not just the exit plan to sell off the business. It's the exit plan when I die. And what did I leave behind? I just couldn't believe that. But again, I love that we're looking at it dimensionally, saying, yes, but you need to have a whole life. You don't want to get to the end of this journey and be divorced and have no friends and be ill. Like you have to actually look at the whole person, the whole family, and how you're going to sort of mentally and physically and spiritually help all of them make sure that this entrepreneurship journey is a healthy one.
Oh, well said. Susan, don't you leave yet, because I got one more question for as we wrap up. Listen, we hope you enjoyed our podcast. Sincerely, if you did, I want you to do one favor for us. We want you to share it. Share it. Put it on your LinkedIn. Put it on your social media, your Facebook, your whatever platform you use. Just share it, because friends share with friends that which they love, that inspires and enjoy. You know somebody who may be going through challenges, want to be inspired. You know an entrepreneur who could use this message. Maybe you want to encourage them to come to the conference. Whatever it is, be an evangelist for us right now and share it. All right, we'll appreciate that. If you say, hey, I would like to attend the conference because I missed day one, it's not too late. Just go to our website, nehemiahecommunity.com, and just go to the events area and just click there. The conference will open up and you can sign up for the next 2 days where you'll experience the one-day conference. Amazing speakers and guests who are health and wellness experts and entrepreneurs are going to share how you can walk this journey. And then the following day, Friday, will be our international business plan competition. Who will win this year? Will it be Kenya again for the 6th year in a row? Or will the United States take it? Or will Cameroon? By the way, this is Cameroon's first time at the international business plan competition. They got there by default. We'll see if they take this one home. So join us for those two events. You will enjoy them a great deal. Also, if you say, hey, I want to just grow my business or start one, and you're saying, how do I do that? All right, so right on our website, nehemiahecommunity.com, you can learn about our training program, Biblical Entrepreneurship, Serve with Love, Identity and Destiny, Life Cycle, whatever it is, just click there, learn more about it. Or you can learn about our coaching program, one-on-one, our group coaching. I mean, I just began last week, this week, with a new client who she said, where have you guys been? Right? Something about meeting with a coach and having that sounding board and begin to get that resource to help you, that sense of guidance, just change everything. So sign up and join us, and we'd love to come alongside you. Or you might say, hey, I want to be a part of this community. I want to connect with entrepreneurs from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, from Europe. Yes, on that website, you can learn about it and join us and be a part. So Susan, before we leave, 2 questions for you. The first one is, were you surprised how well this message was received on health, on mental health and wellness?
Yes, I was. When I mean, because I think we, and I think as I started this conversation, I think that people were eager to speak to the whole person.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Manny said it at the beginning. He said, that is shalom. When you have an integration, we always talk about creating a world where everything's better. Well, let's start with one person and have the alignment be with that one person, that their spiritual and health and mental health aligns with their physical health and their financial health. I think people are hungry in a way and willing to be vulnerable publicly.
Yeah.
Maybe socially we've changed. I think COVID might have shaped a lot of this, because when you know how when you see somebody say, how are you doing? And everybody says, fine. During COVID, people were willing to say, thanks. This is good. And so I think we may have shifted as a culture global culture and being willing to talk about it. But I think entrepreneurs often, try to make it all sound good just by nature, because we want to project positive. And so I was delighted that it seemed to resonate, and people, when we interacted with the chat and people said their own thoughts, I mean, people are ready for this. And I give you huge credit, Patrice. You had an instinct that this conversation needed to be had. And I feel proud to be part of the Nehemiah board that allowed that encouraged, after you sold us on this idea, that actually got the benefit of it, because we all, I think, I think the fact that you even change your curriculum to include this assessment said that this conversation wasn't just a one-time thing. It's integrated into how we work together and do life together. So well done. I'm really proud that this is
thank you. The new normal. My last question for you, Susan, that people watching and listening, you are you've had a great career in corporate, and you are now at that season where you're both enjoying and still building and making an impact, right? And transition are never easy. When we talk about mental health, oftentimes it is in transition that people break down. You've had the ability to navigate it, you and your husband both. What advice? I mean, you serve as a board chair of a large nonprofit, very demanding financially and time bound, right? Time wise. At the same time, you're a grandmother. At the same time, you're a daughter. At the same time, you're a wife. At the same time, you're an entrepreneur. So, what advice somebody who at your season of life that they maybe have a great career, and they're wondering, how do I find fulfillment in our next season in a way that's balanced and wholesome? And what advice you give them?
And what a perfect challenge for me after listening to all these folks today, because it does start with, so what problem what am I trying to do here, right? At this season, for this chapter of my life, this assignment, right? And it starts with your identity. I mean, I took the Identity and Destiny course a few years ago that you all offer, that really challenged me to get beyond my titles, because I spent a lot of years where I'm a metric for my career had a lot to do with titles and the number of people that work for me, and just like these metrics and revenue, income, it was all that. And then to shift into a model where it's all being an entrepreneur, where you're starting something from scratch and nobody knows who I am, is go-to-market impact. That identity issue was critical for me to figure out, oh, I'm being called to this. This isn't simply plugging a hole. And then I will say, so I started consulting, and I work with organizations to help them drive new strategies. And it went very well. I started working with individual companies. And then about 5 years into it, I started going, I just created another job, and I'm not able to be with the family that I love, and my parents were in their 90s, and my brand new grandchildren, and this kind of stuff. And so that has really caused me to pivot and rethink, how am I going to serve others? Because I knew I can't stop. I'm being called to this season to help people with big ideas get results better. And I have experience to help them avoid mistakes. So I think, okay, what do I do with this? So that's why I've created a more modular model, a different model, with books and speaking and workshops instead of custom consulting. My new book, Fast Track Your Big Idea, is coming out in October. And I'm now building a launch team. So if you go to Fast Track Your Big Idea, .com, you can be part of it. But I'm laughing because this is me acknowledging that there's a purpose. There's got to be purpose in what I do. It would be a big waste of time to do anything if it wasn't aligned with God's purpose for my life. So I don't think we're ever done with this. I think we recalibrate depending on the season we're in. If you're starting out, if you're making these shifts, if you're in your 60s and 70s, each time you have these different moments where you've got to step back, be still, and know He's God and you're created in His image. And that is the fuel that allows you to be healthy and have context for anything that you're doing. So that's a quick answer. It's not so quick an answer, but watch this space because it keeps evolving as you keep evolving.
That is so good. Susan, please come back right before the launch so we can talk about the book itself. We'll love
Yeah.
to do that. And the other thing you didn't say, you married well, because it's yeah, to all that there must be a good husband right there
Yeah,
beside you.
45 years. We're doing pretty good.
That
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah,
With
that does.
that, Susan, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you so much for your just your mentorship and what you do for all of us in Nehemiah. You probably the most all-in board chair we've ever had. And I think
I'm
and
the
the
first
season,
woman.
the first woman, that's right. And the season is warranted, right? It's you're the one for the season, and we appreciate that. We know that it's not easy. Tell your husband we appreciate it. We know that there is a price we pay for that, and we appreciate it so much.
Well, I want to just say, buckle up, everybody, because tomorrow's program is called a summit. It's a one-day, highly packed agenda that allows you to get so many different perspectives. So yes, everybody needs to sleep fast and sign up if you're not. If you haven't signed up, come. It is just going to be worth every penny. And truthfully, from my point of view, an investment in yourself.
Well said. With that said, let me pray for you guys. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that are under your care and to steward them in such a way that one day you'll hear those wonderful words, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Guess what? He'll not make you ruler over much. God bless you. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow at the summit. God bless. Thanks.